All right, well, here we are again. I'm sitting here with my son, uh, Jay Smith. Is that the way you want me to call your name? Jay Smith?
Whatever you said that.
This is Jeremy. And, we did one of these things where we talk about what we call it, man to man.
Yes, sir.
And so it's just an opportunity for me to create some content, for us to create some content that's directed towards men, because people always asking me, guys are always asking, and some ladies, why don't you do more male content? Well, if you look at the analytics on my YouTube channel, I think it's like 93% of my audience is female.
Yep.
And 7% is like male, but we do have some guys that are really starting to participate, so I want to create that content. So in this segment that we've created, he gets a chance as a much younger man, half my age, to ask me questions relative to his present life and based on my life's experience. So what's the question for tonight?
So, as you know, I'm soon to be father.
Yes, sir. I do know.
Yeah, baby's on his way.
Mm-hmm.
But I got some real questions. So, considering the fact that you just ended, you done raised everybody.
Four
Yeah.
biological kids.
So, I guess my question is, what are some practical steps that you can take as a father, starting at the beginning and at the end?
And I think this is a good question, and I'm glad that it's kind of impromptu. It's not something that I have the time to actually do a lot of thinking about and writing stuff out and all that kind of thing. You just kind of mentioned it to me right before we hit this button to film. The very first thing that I would say that a man can do as a father that will benefit his child, even now while your child is in her mother's womb, the very first thing I would say a man can do is to treat that child's mother well, even before that child is born. Because there's an energy, there's an impartation, there's an emotional impartation that is transferred through the womb of the mother to the child. And a lot of times men don't get this, when you misuse or you don't treat properly a child's mother, it is having a direct impact on your child even before that child is born. So number one, I would say, okay, now let me go back to some real transparent stuff about my life. I was a teenage father. I was a father at 15 years old. So clearly I was a child in my mind, and in every other way I was a child. And I didn't understand the importance of this, and I did not really treat the mother of my child at that time properly. I didn't handle her properly. I really, I just didn't get it. I didn't get the great sacrifice of motherhood. Well, we got married when I turned 18. I got married 3 days after I turned 18. And we had another child by the time I was 20. That's my second child. And that's the only child that I've gone into the room to see actually birth. And when I went into that room and I saw what a woman goes through to actually bring a man's seed into the world, it's literally like, one foot in the grave, the other on a banana peel. It's literally, a woman is putting her life on the line to give life to another. And it changed, everything about how I viewed motherhood and how I viewed women in general. So I would say number one is to be kind, to be gentle, to be patient with your child's mother, even while she's carrying that child. The second thing I would say, the most valuable thing you will be able to give your child, the timeless and most priceless thing you will be able to give your child is time. It's time. you know, because we're trained to believe as men that it's all about the dollar. It's all about, you know, and of course it's about that. You got to provide. But your providing financially is not going to create any kind of paternal bond between you and your child until your child comes of an age where he or she realizes the great financial cost it must have been for you to have provided. But there's a bond that your child is going to need to create with you from day one. Children are more connected to their mothers for a lot of different reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is that the mothers spend most of the time with the kids.
Right.
Time. You got to give your child time. You got to spend time with your child, even before your child is able to walk and talk. Don't let your wife hold her all the time. Hold her. Let her feel you. Let her get your scent. Let her know your voice. Let her hear your heartbeat. You know, it creates a bond between your child that calms your child and creates what the father brings to the child's life is security. You know, when you see all of these kids today, well, not just kids, but people in general who are so nervous and, you know, stressed, it's because most of them never had that sense of security that fathers bring. When a father's in the house, nobody cares about the strange sound outside because dad got it. When dad's not present, everybody gets nervous because the father brings security. And one of the things for your child to develop in the most healthy fashion is for you to be a constant, present source of security. So time, giving your child time, be kind to your child's mother, giving your child time. A third thing that I would say is after your child is born, clearly after your child is born, demonstrating for your child what manhood, fatherhood, husbandhood looks like.
Okay.
A lot of times we're trying to teach people these things when these things were supposed to be demonstrated. Nobody sat me down and gave me a class on manhood, fatherhood, providerhood. It was the example that was laid down before me that I saw my father represent. So when I came of age, I automatically had in mind, well, I'm going to provide. I'm not going to put my hands on my wife. I'm not going to be a tyrant in my house. You know what I mean? Now, I would get flipped and all that kind of thing when I was younger, but I never was a man that would be a tyrant. My family, my children never had to be scared and anxious. Demonstrating for your child what manhood, fatherhood, husbandhood looks like, especially for your daughters, especially because your daughters are going to watch your example, and subconsciously they're going to your example is going to become her standard. When you have a son, your example is going to become his rule book, his playbook, his manhood playbook. So modeling these things, you know, and also within the context of that, modeling love for your child's mother. You know, every couple has issues, but your children should never be brought into that. You should intentionally keep them out of y'all's drama, but intentionally involve them in the process of watching you love their mother. There is nothing that will have a greater impact on your life, on your child's life, than for your child's testimony to be, I saw my father love my mother. I saw my father hug my mother. I saw my father open doors for my mother. I saw my father handle my mother gently. You know, there's no greater testimony. You know, my father is in heaven today. You know, he's gone on to be with the Lord. And one of the greatest impacts that man left on my life was that he clearly loved my mother. He demonstrated his love for my mother, you know, and that endeared me to my father in ways that I probably can't even articulate. I would have gone through 3. I guess a fourth thing I would say is we talked about time, which also includes being present. You know, that's talking about, you know, showing up even in the schooling situation, being present. The fourth thing I would say to you is quite often mothers are strapped when it comes down to the discipline aspect of the child. And the father has to many times step in and be, you know, the disciplinarian. You know, that's a tough job, but somebody got to do it. You know, now when you know, when mama's too weak and mama's, you know, giving into all of this stuff and doing all these different things, it is the father's responsibility to make certain that you balance that, because children learn respect for authority at home with fathers. Mothers are not usually fit for that. You know, mothers are usually pushovers. Now the challenge for you is going to be that quite often fathers are pushovers in the hands of daughters. Yeah, and I'm a living witness. You know what I mean? I'm a living witness because I have 3 biological daughters, and truly I'm a pushover. But you know, there was a certain extent this thing would go to, and I would have to reel it in. That's going to be one of your hardest jobs, but one of the most impactful roles you will play as a father is to bring discipline to your child. When you bring discipline to your child at home as a father, chances are the police will not have to engage them in the street. Gotcha. When you bring discipline to your child at home as a father, chances are, you know, you won't have to watch a judge do it for you in a courtroom. But, you know, bringing discipline to your child with balance. Now, bringing discipline to your child does not mean that you do like they did with me when I was a child, and that is beat the life out you. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm talking about. And I do believe the Bible says spare the rod, spoil the child. So I do believe in that kind of, you know, reprimand when it's necessary. But I have raised 4 kids successfully. None of them on drugs, none of them gone to jail. All of them are productive, all of them educated, they all love God. Right. And I've not had to exact that kind of punishment as much as some have done. You know, my boy, the only boy I have, I've only had to bring that kind of discipline to him one time, and he declares that was unjust, that what I was chastising him for he didn't even do. You know, it's you know, the discipline of a father is your presence. You know, my father could walk in a room and just his voice would shake me to my core. You know, just setting the rules, setting the boundaries. We ain't gonna do this, we're not gonna do that. Another role that you're going to have to play in the life of your child is making certain that your child respects her mother. You know, that's one of my roles now. One of my, you know, my children understand you're not going to come in here and disrespect, you know, you're not going to come in and disrespect your mama. Yeah, that's the role of a father, as it is the role of a mother to teach the children the sacrifice that you make as a great father. She's supposed to teach them to respect you, and you're supposed to teach them to respect her. And they're supposed to watch both of y'all respect one another. And then number 5, you know, if I really had time to sit down and prepare this, give your child vision. Wow. Give your child vision. Think about it. By the time a child is 18 years old going off to college, that child has to know who he or she is and where they're supposed to go. Well, where do you think they're supposed to get that from? The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it. We just take that text and we stick it in the church. Bring them up in church, and when they get old, they may go out in the world and they'll come back to the church. Well, it's inclusive of that, but it's about more than that. There's a specific divine plan that God has for your child. And as a father, you must be prophetically sensitive to detect what is it that God has brought this soul into the earth to do and to accomplish. Well, from early on, it's your job to take your child and to pour vision into her. This is what you're going to do. This is who you are, sweetheart. You know, she's looking at you in a bottle. Yeah, this is who you are. This is what you will do. These are the great exploits you will accomplish in the earth. Everything I'm doing now, my father spoke it into my life.
Wow.
When I came of age, though I was trying to be rebellious in terms of the way I lived my life, I didn't have a doubt about who I really was and what I was supposed to accomplish, because my father had prophetically made that deposit into my life.
Wow.
I didn't mean to take up the whole session, but you asked and I answered.
I appreciate that. I guess I got some work to do with well, you said it first, the little prophetess. I guess we got some work to do with her.
Yeah, you got some work to do. You got some work to do. And you know, well, I ain't going to say that on camera, but you know how we feel about these little boys coming around. Hallelujah.
Oh, yeah. My daughter's off limits.
Well, this has been a joy. Jay, you want to say anything to them since you hadn't had a chance to talk much?
No, listen. I will say this. For my generation, get you a father. Get you a father. Get you a spiritual mother, whoever. Get you a father. Get you somebody that can guide you. You don't have to be lost. You don't have to be wandering around trying to feel your way through the dark and everything. I know some of us have been hurt. We've been, messed over, things like that. But get you somebody that's sincere. I got somebody that's sincere. I don't even call him Bishop. I call him Dad. I call him Pop. Because he's just that. I don't have my biological father, so this is my father. Get you a father. If you don't have one, get one.
Well, we love you. This has been Man to Man, old dude to young dude. And just stay tuned. We're going to bring some more of this your way. I'm R.C. Blakes.
This is J.L. Smith.
You're on top and you're going higher. God has more in store for you. God bless you until next time.
Bless you.
Read his father-daughter talk book.
A lot of you whose ignorance has been shattered.